Aboro Aboye. We live in a time, in an era, wherein people have more choice than ever. And a person has the liberty to decide so much of what they want to identify with, that some things that were once upon a time just a foregone conclusion are now up to discussion and debate. If you don't want to be, you don't want to identify as black, you can identify as white. If you don't want to identify as being white, you can identify as being black. If you don't want to identify as being a man, you can identify as being a woman. If you don't want to be identify as being a woman, you can identify as being a man. You know, and it just goes on and on. People can choose so many things that they identify themselves as. And that hasn't always been the case. Once upon a time, if you were born the son of a blacksmith, then you were a blacksmith. If you were the daughter of a weaver, then that meant you were going to be a weaver. And it just was natural, right? Nobody would ever even consider anything different. And so it's interesting because with this newfound freedom, you're able to choose your belief system. You're able to choose what culture you identify with, right? You can choose to be an Ifa practitioner. You can choose to practice Orisha lifestyle. You can choose to venerate the Vodun. You can choose to venerate and represent your ancestors in a way that you could not have done at any other time in history. But at the same time, when it pertains to Orisha lifestyle, when you choose this tradition, you're choosing something that isn't intended to feed your fantasies. Okay, it isn't something that will allow you to delude yourself and deceive yourself and go in deeper and deeper into an imaginary realm. Right? Ifa is meant to help you reveal the contents of your original choice. It's meant to put you into a greater and greater contact with your most original and authentic self, your destiny. Okay? So even though you're free to choose Ifa, Ifa is not going to perpetuate imaginary ideas about who you are. Ifa is going to bring you, back to square one over and over and over and over. Ifa is going to reinforce your true nature and give you more and more and more ways to optimize your true nature and to use your true nature in a way that is constructive and is in alignment with, the will of Olodumare. Okay, now I've seen it over and 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 over again, that a person who practices Orisha lifestyle in earnest with sincerity will be redirected to their original path, their truest self. Okay? And so it's important that you understand what Ifa is meant to do. And you can start to work in agreement with Ifa and not be working against Ifa. Right? A lot of times I run into people who come to Ifa because they want a fantasy. They want to make believe that if they venerate Shango, if they identify themselves with Shango more and more and more, then it's going to make them Shango-like. It's going to turn them into a Shango. It's going to make people tremble and shake like when thunder strikes, and that is not reality. If you're not a thunderous soul, if your spirit does not resonate with the power of thunder, if you don't carry that within you, No amount of, consuming of medicine or wearing of beads, or, you know what I'm saying, or sacrifices of rams and roosters and all kinds of stuff, that's not going to make you into Shango. If that's not what you chose. Okay, if you chose something as gentle as a feather, as soft as a river, as your destiny, that's what you're going to be. And the more you get into Ifa, the deeper your practice, the more gentle and soft you're going to become. It's just the way it is. And so you have to understand within yourself what you chose, why you chose it, what the value of that choice is, and then you can optimize it, and you can create the kinds of effect and impact that you really know that you can have, but according to your own true essence and nature. So it's a twofold thing. It's an inside out and an outside in. And where you allow them to meet one another, that's where you find that sympathetic resonance. That's where the magic happens. Where you really start from the kernel of who you are and what you chose and what you bring into the world. And you match that with the skills and the tools and the accoutrements that are going to amplify and augment what you truly, are, and what you are, what the world needs. Okay? And I really want to emphasize that part about what the world needs much, much more. Because we live also in a time wherein the desperation of our era is reaching also unparalleled levels. Okay, when you start looking at the environmental disasters, climate change, and everything that comes with it. When you start looking at overpopulation, particularly of the cities that we live in, and everything that comes with overpopulation. When you start looking at political and economic corruption on a global scale, the level of criminality, looting and robbery and theft that's taking place on the planet right now, is at an epic level, and is threatening the future of life on this planet in ways that it's impossible to calculate. When you start to think about the severity of the problems that we face in this day and age, you understand why your freedom of choice is so important. Your ability to choose who you are and what you are going to represent is the most powerful opportunity that humanity has ever had. Don't squander that freedom by choosing imaginary things. Don't squander that freedom by choosing things that only perpetuate the lowest part of your ego. Do everything you can to make choices that are going to perpetuate a part of you that can make a contribution to saving the world, to uplifting the world, to really rescuing the virtues of life as we have known it for millions and millions of years. That's why you have this powerful freedom of choice right now. So I encourage you to explore your journey in Orisha lifestyle, not with the idea of the perception of yourself as some kind of a savior or some kind of a martyr or something like that, but just as someone who can be as useful as a tree. Someone who can be as useful as a flower. Someone who can be as useful as a river or rain. These are things that are very, very, very simple and humble and unassuming. They just do one thing, but it's the thing that they are destined to do. And if you can occupy that same kind of a position, you can make the same kind of a contribution as the wind makes, as the insects make, as the birds make. Aboru aboye, aboshishe.